Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about chords. We're going to talk about what are chords, how to construct one, what are the different types of chords, and how to write and figure out a chord progression. So let's start off with talking about what are chords, and then we'll talk about how to construct one. Chords are playing two or more harmonic notes at the same time. So a lot of the basic chords only uses 3 notes. So you have your root, your fifth, and then your major third. To know how to construct a chord and chord progression, you need to know your intervals, since the chord is made up from a set of intervals. So intervals are a distance between one note and another. So the distance between G and G sharp is a semitone or a half step. The distance between G and A is a tone or a whole step. So there is another way to name these distances, and that is by numbering them. Okay, so since G is your root, we're going to call that your 1. G to G sharp is your minor second. G to A is your major second. G to A sharp is your minor third. G to B is your major third. G to C is your perfect fourth. G to C sharp is your augmented fourth, also known as your tritone. G to D is your perfect fifth. G to D sharp is your minor sixth. G to E is your major sixth. G to F is your minor seventh. G to F sharp is your major seventh. And then you're right back on your root. But they call this the perfect eighth. And the reason why they call these notes perfect, fourth, fifth, and eighth is because there is no dissonance in between the two notes. So the intervals in a diatonic scale would be whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then half step. So there are 4 basic chord types. There is major, then there is minor, diminished, and augmented. Now the major chord is built from its root, its fifth, and major third. And in a minor chord, the only note you're going to be changing from the major to minor is the third. You're going to be moving that major third down a half step. And a diminished chord is built from a tritone and a minor third. So you have your tritone right here, and then there's your minor third right there. And lastly, we have augmented chord, and that is built from its root. Alright, so lastly we have our augmented chord, and that is built from the root, the minor sixth, and then the major third. Now there are more chord types such as 7th chord, and within that there's like a whole other list of different chord types you can play with 7th. But if you guys want me to do a video on that, please let me know down in the comments down below. Now let's talk about chord progression and how you can write one yourself, and also figure out the key and mode of a progression. So each of the 7 notes in the scale has a corresponding chord type. So since we're in the key of G major, G major is going to be our 1 chord. And then after that we have a minor chord. And then we have another minor chord. And then C major, D major, E minor. And then we have our F sharp diminished. So just like you would use the diatonic number for your intervals, you would sort of do the same for your chord progression. So you would lay out your chord progression of G major as G G major for your 1, A minor for your 2, B minor for your 3, C major for your 4, D major for your 5, E minor for your 6th, and then you have your F sharp diminished for your 7th. Now you can use any of these 7 chords to create your own chord progression in a key of G major, or you can even change it up and use the same formula for, A major. Now, as long as you make your chord progression revolve around the 1 chord, your chord progression would be in the key of G major or G Ionian, which is the first mode of a major scale. Now, let's say you want to change mode or figure out whether or not a chord progression you've learned or written is in a different mode. So just like how there are different chord types for each of the 7 notes in a scale, there are also 7 different modes for each of those notes. Now I want you to remember this saying: I don't particularly like mode a lot. I for Ionian, don't for Dorian, particularly for Phrygian, like for Lydian, mode for Mixolydian, A for Aeolian, lot for Locrian. So you have your 7 modes right there for you to memorize. And another thing you need to remember with those modes is whether they are major or minor. Okay, so Ionian is a major, Dorian is your minor, Phrygian is a minor, okay, and then Lydian is major, Mixolydian is also major, and Aeolian is minor, and your Locrian is also a minor. So the mode of the progression depends on what your home chord is and what the chord progression kind of revolves around. So let's say you're playing around A minor. That would be in a Dorian with parent major scale of G major, because this is all in the same key as G major, except you're just kind of changing up the vibe of the chord progression a bit. You can also use a chord outside of the G major key, and that's called borrowing a chord. But I'm going to save that topic for another video. And you find that there are these 2 major chords right next to each other, that usually means that it is a 4 and a 5. Because in a chord progression formula, the only chords that are major that are right next to each other is the 4 and 5. So working your way backwards after finding out that A is your 5 and G is your 4, you can kind of go down here, work your way backward, and you would find out that your parent major scale is actually D major. So experiment around with what you've learned in this video and have fun constructing your own chord and progressions. So let me know down in the comments down below if you'd like me to talk more about 7th chords and as well as the concept of borrowing a chord from a different key. So I hope this video helped you guys out, and if it did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and also subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.